They arrive stuffed into car boots. And on the back seats, they're taking some terrible hits trying to stop the Russian troops entering the Ukrainian capital, laid out on already blood-soaked stretchers. The soldiers have just been shelled on a front line which is creeping ever closer to Kyiv. And it's the nearest hospital, now entirely turned over to dealing with the war wounded. These aren't army medics, they're the town's doctors and nurses who 2 weeks ago were dealing with births and bone breaks. Now they're plunged into a new world, spent trying to save the lives of soldiers and civilians torn apart by bombs and bullets.
It's World War III.
It's World War III.
It's World War III, and it could be stopped here, or it could move through all the world. Please help us to stop this war.
They are shell-shocked and shaking, and so far the politicians' peace talks have got nowhere. Hospitals are protected locations under international law, but no one here trusts that to be observed. Yet there's an astonishing resilience and perhaps a realization they have no option. It's not difficult for us to fight, he tells us. We're defending our land and will continue to protect it. But then he delivers a rousing call, not just to his fellow Ukrainian men and women, but also the rest of the world. Everyone has to stand together, he says. Glory to Ukraine, our army will win. This is on the northwest edge of the capital, and we found multiple vehicles and homes which had been hit, apparently indiscriminately. There seems to be no shortage of lucky escapes. He was on duty as an emergency worker. So you just live close by?
His house, 5 houses from here.
There are thousands of lives abruptly halted by this war. Pets abandoned in the rush to keep out of the way of the rockets and bombs. Families who've upped and left everything just to try to survive. There's a constant sound of artillery and shelling going on, and you can see the devastation that some of the attacks have already had. We know, according to the locals here, that the Russians are only a few kilometers down the road, and this is the constant backdrop. So those who can't or won't leave live in a shadowy underground world below the booming war sounds. About half of the capital's population has fled the city, according to the mayor. Smells good. Smells good. We're just waiting for victory, for everything to be good again, she says, and trying not to cry. These are the bravest of women, tending to some of the community's most vulnerable and most frightened. We've already learnt how to tell the difference between our side's shooting and the enemy's, Natalia tells us. We can identify everything, and we're just trying to keep everyone calm. They're already living under siege here, with sons and partners fighting and their homes bombed. For sure, this is a crime, and Putin has to be punished, she tells us. Hi, Dan.
Hi, how's it going?
Those fleeing include a former British soldier who'd been living in Bucha, had to pass through Russian troops to escape, and saw dozens of civilian targets had been attacked.
I saw a lot of vehicles, civilian vehicles, destroyed on the road, dead bodies on the road. Even vehicles, people have been marking their vehicles with the Ukrainian or the Russian word for child on their vehicles if they have children. A bunch of those vehicles were also destroyed with children markings.
They're engaged in the fight of their lives to stop the Russian troops advancing any further. But their president's warning, much more of their blood will be spilt unless his nation gets international military support. Alex Crawford, Sky News, on the edge of the capital, Kyiv.